I've been places far and near. I stared the devil in the eye. Wrestled the bear, don't ask me why.
Hello, I'm Paulino Fontes, as I'm affectionately nicknamed by my former students, known as El Viejo Fontes, which means Old Man Fontes. Impudent little bastards. This being the inaugural episode of this blog, I thought it best to explain what got me into this teacher kick in the first place. Well, folks, I had what is known as a midlife crisis and epiphany, just like in the movies and the fucking books. I was just another 40-year-old jaded restaurateur in Tinseltown. Sounds like the opening of a Raymond Chandler story, doesn't it? I was working in my family's restaurant, the El Carmen Cafe on 3rd Street here in Los Angeles, when this former customer of mine, this little prick named Jeffrey L., comes walking up. And we have a conversation. And during this conversation, he hit on some point, and I turned to him and I said, well, you know, something like that happened to me when I was in college. And he looked at me and he goes, you were in college? The racist little prick. I said to him, yeah, you know, what do you think? You think because I'm Mexican, I went from the barrio to the gang to the restaurant? And he goes, well, you are Mexican. I almost kicked his ass. But then I realized he'd sue the fuck out of me. Now, at the time, I had a mustache and an imperial. I didn't have my goatee. I had long hair. And in my mind, I thought I looked like D'Artagnan. I looked like a cavalier poet. Little did I know that little racist like this guy looked at me like a beaner biker. He lays that on me. You went to college. And I look at him and I say, you gotta be kidding me, man. You're Jewish. You would think after the Babylonian captivity, the Egyptian captivity, the Holocaust, that maybe you'd have a little sensitivity towards other people and how they are looked at and stereotyped. I said, not only am I a college graduate, but my siblings are, and both my parents were, and one of my grandparents was. I go, where do you get off laying this racist, because you're Mexican, you can't be educated thing on me? Well, it shook him up a little bit, and he apologized, and he went on his way. And strangely enough, he did me a great favor. He dropped acid on my soul that started eating me up. So this acid is eating my soul, and I realize I have to do something to alleviate this emotional and moral pain which I'm feeling. And then I remembered Plato's allegory of the cave. I'm gonna get real preachy-teachy right now. In the allegory of the cave, it's a metaphor basically that we are all chained in a chair before a huge white wall. And the sun is behind us, and we see the shadows of life going on. People who interact with us, famous people, events in history, they're all going on this screen of white, but it's only shadows. We don't really see and understand what is going on. Only the few who are able to break the chains and turn around and see the world as it is, they're the only ones who become free. Now, at that point, if you're able to do that, what are you to do? Do you just go forward, now you've taken care of yourself? Or do you turn around and go back and help the chains off of the other ones? Well, I was at that point in my life, and I realized I had to go back and help break chains. The only way I could do that was to become a teacher. So I went down to LA Unified, I got hired, lickety split, and I started teaching. And as I started teaching, I started realizing that most of these kids, although I had gotten guidance from my grandmother, I'd gotten none from my father. He was too busy living his life with alcoholism and womanizing, living in Mexico City. And so I had to, like most other people, I had to figure things out on my own. And that's not a good way to go. Not when we can find another alternative, which is helping each other, talking to each other, guiding each other. Now, what is something that makes someone free? Well, basically, it's understanding yourself and realizing what is the meaning of life. It's pretty simple, really. It's self-realization. If you can self-realize yourself, you have got life figured out. Up to that point, I was pretty sure that I knew what life was about. I thought it was all basically sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And that stuff's okay. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. But it's not going to give you the satisfaction and the validation that the way I'm talking about is going to help. So I started teaching. And let me tell you, that was an experience all in itself, and that'll be some other blog that we get into that. But I realized that I had a duty. I had a duty to the inner city kid, regardless of their color, white, black, Asian, Latino, it didn't matter. I had a duty because they didn't get the opportunities that the rest did. They didn't get to realize that life has meaning and it's achievable. That was my message to them. And now it's your turn. Aren't you lucky? I used to sell my students on this concept. I used to say to them, I'm going to give you something worth $1 million. And brother, that got their attention. But the fact is, it is worth over $1 million. I realized that my students weren't getting any guidance, like I had never gotten any guidance from my father, the alcoholic womanizer, living in Mexico City. So I had to figure things out like everyone else had to, and that's really not a very smart way to go, brother, let me tell you. But nevertheless, I lacked direction like everyone else, I realized these kids need it. And I came up with this idea, which I'm sure is not original to me. I'm sure people have done it. In fact, probably every famous person who has been in history has done it instinctually or instinctively. And that is what I like to call imaging. All right? Now, imaging, it's like Lord Buckley said. It's just like a jitterbug dance. It's so simple, it evaded me. And that's kind of like this. It's really easy. But it's just a matter of applying yourself to it and wanting to do it. Let's use the metaphor that life is a sailing ship. You are sailing the happy blue seas, the sun is shining, the wind is favorable. But then what happens if your rudder breaks? And then here comes a storm. And you're being pushed onto the shoals of alcoholism or drug abuse, onto the reef of bad decisions and poor friend choices and prison, onto the shore of bad marriages and infidelity and lies. You don't have a rudder. You can't do anything about it. Well, imaging is going to give you that rudder. It's pretty much like what John Wooden said, the greatest coach that ever lived. If you fail to plan to fail. And it's really that simple. So let's talk about it. When you image, you actually have to envision yourself. Now, you're made up of 3 parts. You're made up of mind, body, and spirit. Okay? You have to actually see what you are now and what it is you want to become. A good way to do this is at night when you go to bed and you're laying there in bed and after touching yourself so you're relaxed and ready to go to sleep, actually envision yourself. See yourself as that person you want to be. The hero of the novel that you are writing, which is your life. Realize that if you let your hero live on circumstance, the circumstance will be he never gets the break, he never gets the job. He never gets what everyone else got because he wasn't at the right place at the right time. You've got to steer yourself to the right place at the right time. And the way you're going to do that is by taking yourself on. Easiest one of these is physically. Okay. If you got weight problem, if you don't have enough muscles, you got too many muscles, you got table muscle, all right, I understand. You understand already that you get on a regimen of exercise and diet and proper eating, and you'll go forward with that. The mind and the spirit are a little more complex. With the mind, you have to take hold of your mind, and you have to realize that it will play tricks on you, and it will lead you into things like religion and poor advice and gangs or whatever. You have to understand that you have the capacity to make yourself happy. You have the capacity to direct yourself as to picking proper friends so that you're not being driven into wrong places at the wrong time and spending the next 10 to 20 in prison. And also spiritually. What does it mean spiritually? Well, you have to see who it is that you want to be. Are you going to take advantage of life, of people, of the planet? Or are you going to live in harmony with it? Live in harmony with yourself. Live in harmony with your desires and live in harmony with what is achievable. You take these kind of issues into mind, and that is imaging. You have to see who that person is going to be 10 years from now. Now, this is good for all ages. Now, true, it helps more for the young people because they have more life ahead of them. But for old people, start using some imaging to realize that you are the one that's going to guide your family. Take the position where you are the leader of your family. You are the patriarch or matriarch that guides everyone else, and you will teach them imaging. You will teach those younger kids, whether they're in high school or junior high or grammar school, you're going to teach them that they have the power to make themselves who they want to be. They have to see that person, and they have to realize that there are steps needed to get to that. If you want to be a world-class weightlifting champion, well, you realize what you're going to have to do. Well, the same thing goes if you want to be a great educator or a doctor or a lawyer or an Indian chief. Whatever it is that you want to do, you have to realize the steps that it takes. You have to plan, and you have to get absolutely serious about it. Now, you can't do this all at one time. It's going to take a while. It's going to take practice, like learning a new language. You have to do this every day. You have to image every day. You have to say, am I going towards that goal every damn day? A good thing to do with your kids is sit them down and make them write a letter to themselves of them 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now. In 5 years, I'm going to have accomplished this. Graduated from high school, gone into college, gotten a good job, started working in this industry or that industry. Whatever it is you see, And a big mistake is thinking everyone has to go to college. No, you have to get educated. If you're going to be a plumber, you should go to trade school. If you're going to be a cook, you should get some kind of absolute training, and you have a better chance of succeeding in it, right? So education is a very large part of this, but it doesn't always have to be college. You have to make a plan and realize what it is you're going to be. So for the young kids, sit them down and have them write a letter to themselves. And in this letter, they can say who they're going to be in 5 years. What will they accomplish? What are they going to accomplish in the next 5 years? And make a little chart for them so they can check their own progress. And then what you do is you wrap up that envelope, you seal it, and you write down, if you did it today, you're going to write down March 8th, 2015, and on the back, right across where you would open it, write, do not open until March 8th, 2020. And then open it and see. See what you've accomplished. See where you've gone wrong. Reflect on your life. And then you will be able to go forward. And then do it again. Do for the next 5 years. It's like the old Soviets with their 5-year plan. But, you know, it works. It didn't work for them because they had it all backwards, but it'll work for you. Now, this is easy stuff, simple stuff to remember and to understand. But it's hard stuff to do. And I hope you take my advice, and I hope you go forward with this. Now, I'm Viejo Fontes, Paulino Fontes III. I would like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel. Give me your feedback. And if it's shitty, fuck you. No, I'm kidding. Say what you want. But I won't print it or put it up. But nevertheless, tell your friends about our site. Tell your friends to go onto my website, my webpage, and the link which will show up at the bottom of this. And let's all go forward and let's all succeed. Thanks a lot. This is Diego Fontes, signing out.